Down and dirty.
All right. I mean, this has to be a proxy gate, right? There's no way it's anything else. He's already used it twice so far today.
Gateway.
That is a close by proxy right there. No doubt.
Got to be careful. Even the angle you come in here with the probe, if you're watching carefully, I think he actually angled it correctly.
He did correct the angle, but it actually felt like it came in just slightly from the left side a little bit to me.
It doesn't appear that Maru caught on. So now he's going to act as though he's just trying to run out here. Problem is, this SCV is just not far away.
Well, you want it as close as it can possibly get without being scouted. And so far, that's exactly what he has.
Now, he has the probe over here to try to interfere with the placement of the command center. It does get placed where it needs to be.
Well, that's the funny part too, right? Because he's trying to block it as best he can, knowing Maru will still push him away and lay it down. But he wants it laid down. Yeah. He wants that command center there.
This is the what you said is very important. The fact that he's actually managed to make it look like it's clearly something it's not, but when he in fact didn't want that to be planted is great. The Reaper's actually gone all the way around this gateway. Let's keep watching the pathing. Sometimes players change that. Right now, it's angled over here. Is it going to go to the upper right?
The bunker is...
No. Wait.
The bunker has begun, but the Stalker is out right now. This should be a little bit easier to hold than in game number 2, but still the Stalker getting some damage done.
Okay, Reaper taking damage. Keep in mind, every Stalker shot on the Reaper, if it doesn't kill it, the Reaper will eventually regen, making that not useful. Basically, every Stalker shot is very important here as you watch this.
Well, the bunker is up. Now, with Marines going into it and the fact that he's teching up, you see Classic making his Nexus the second the bunker finishes. I think that that's a very, very good call, but here is that Stargate once again. Now, this is what he did in game number 2. And he did end up winning with it, but let's not forget, he killed 9 SCVs at the beginning of the game with it. He really slowed down the command center. This game, he hasn't done as well. The bunker is up.
Not only that, but it's harder to get these Stalkers behind the minerals here. The minerals are exactly on the opposite side of where the Stalkers are standing. They're not on some edge over here where you can kind of slip through and begin to punish.
Now the SCV gets in, gets a very quality scout off right there for sure. The Stalker's still just kind of sitting outside here, but I don't know what they're really going to accomplish at this point.
Reaper comes out doing a little bit more scouting. The Stalker's going to try to cut the Reaper off at the pass.
Oh, wow. Very close.
I almost feel like he could have gotten that had he controlled that just slightly differently.
It felt like very, very close to almost getting it. Well, he has that third Stalker this time, definitely. He traps him. But Phoenix is on the way.
Cyclone coming out as well.
Whew. Okay. It seems to me that this is going to normalize pretty quickly. Now, how are the Phoenixes going to do against Maru in a game where he didn't kill 9 SCVs at the beginning of it? That's kind of my big question for this right now.
I'm worried. Now, keep in mind, he's got 1 Phoenix back over here. He hasn't come in here just yet. You really can't do much other than scout with 1 Phoenix.
Maru's being so careful. You see this, like he locks on the Stalker, lets it hit a couple times, just runs back.
Yeah, well, he knows.
I'm not losing anything right now.
He knows he needs to get into a later game, generally speaking, to win. I mean, the games that Classic has won, mind you, even though we're tied up 2-2, the games that Classic has won were based off of some early aggression that did some damage, that crippled the Terran, that allowed Classic to get the closer. So I think in Maru's mind, he's saying, as long as I don't take too much damage early on, that would mean that the longer the game goes on, the better position I should be in every regard.
Well, right now this defense looks very, very strong. The Phoenix is going to come in and, obviously get some damage done. You're not going to be able to deny all harassment here from these Phoenixes. Looks like the Twilight and Forge coming up. I kind of like that as a follow-up in this position, right? We saw in the other game where he went, it was game 3, right? Where he went Phoenix into Colossus. And it was like just a little bit too much tech, right? A little bit too technical there. Ooh, what a land.
Somehow none of those Phoenixes died. That's incredible.
In this game where he's actually, going for a more gateway-centric army, he's going to have a pretty strong mid-game army along with the Phoenixes. And he actually goes charged with the +1 armor. I really like his choices here, but Maru is throwing down the 3rd command center, gets started before Classic starts his third Nexus.
That's right. I think some of that, especially the charge, may be in anticipation of a push like we saw Maru win with previously. But yeah, this time it appears they're both going to be going for third bases. Stim is on the way. We will definitely not see Terran push until at least Stim is done. A lot of times Terran will bank up for even more here, but I think with 3 bases, this may be the longer game.
Yes.
Or the longer out of the games we've seen so far.
I think King's Cove oftentimes does go long in this matchup, but I want to mention, I don't think that we're going to see Maru attack for a long time. The way that this game is going right now, I think he has to play kind of a turtley style and just expand, right? Like Classic is playing in such a way that I don't think that there's any time coming up where he's going to be in danger of dying. You know, the fact that he's getting his +1 so quickly here, the eBays are not even done yet here for Maru. So you don't want to fight at that upgrade disadvantage. Classic has kept an eye on everything that's happening, so it's not like he's going to be surprised by anything. I think that there are no timings upcoming here, really, for either player.
5 gateways on the way, a Templar Archives. I think we may actually be going into at least the most standard-looking late game we've had so far in this series. A lot of these games have simply been Classic trying to pull off some kind of a trick early on and exploit that trick on into a later part of the game where he's got a lead and he can come in here with a knockout punch. This time around, Classic opened up and the rush was fairly unimpactful for the Terran, but it also wasn't, the way it was executed, it wasn't like Classic overextended and lost a bunch of units. So even though there was a proxy here, it appears this game should be somewhat normal.
Yeah, it really does look that way at the moment. Getting Psystorm in his second Forge right now, going into the Robo now just finally. But Maru, turtling well, losing SCVs here and there for sure. Definitely very annoying, but he's not in any danger of dying anytime soon, right? That's definitely an important thing to factor in here. Now, will Classic go for like a strong finishing type move like we saw in an earlier game? Or does he just continue to expand, continue to wait?
You know, Maru is oftentimes a player who can pull somebody apart with his harass in his late game, although we haven't had any games like that yet here in this finals. But he's been extra cautious in this finals against Classic, and I think it's with good reason. Classic's already exhibited that he is a risky player. He does want to have the first blow delivered to his opponent.
Yeah, and you know, no real blows delivered yet, just some harassment here and there. And he's done a very good job with that. He's kept Maru on the back foot. Maru has not been able to do any harassment of his own.
Now here's that hallucinated Warp Prism coming in here to bait out the anti-air. We do have a Warp Prism, an actual real one. I believe it's over the army right now. As is common with the Terran versus Protoss meta, Protoss tend to pocket the Templars inside the Warp Prism. Now, they can be used in big fights to storm armies where it's harder to target down the Templars themselves, but you can also storm drop, which has always been a thing that's been strong in StarCraft. Storm dropping worker lines and just completely eliminating their economy is another safe way to do damage without too much risk involved.
It's been very popular lately, so it's definitely something we could see coming up here, and he has so many high Templar at this point. Like, the gases at his natural, he got very early. He's already got the gases at his third. So he's got that type of income where he can do a storm drop, but still have enough splash damage that Maru can't just waltz over across and kill him.
Okay. A pretty safe storm drop does kill off 3 SCVs. Not bad when you consider he did that for free. Let's also take note that in other games, it was Classic. As he tried to develop into a late game, he was going for Colossi. This time around, it's Templar tech.
Yeah, but it seems like everything is working out reasonably well for him here, right? He's got his upgrades really well ahead of Maru right now. He's got his 4th base up. He's the only one that's actually really done much of anything this game. Maru's just had us in the back foot. Now, Maru does have a strong army. He is going into Mass Liberator here and getting ready for Liberator range. But again, I don't really see any timings coming up, right? No moment where it looks like Maru can walk across the map and kill Classic.
Yeah, in fact, I think these Phoenixes may be 2 boxed in. Let's see if they can actually escape here. Another good storm drop, 3 kills. It's not a tremendous amount, but it's still something. And from here, it appears Classic's only going to have one more Phoenix in the game.
This is getting really exciting right now. Look at this. Classic getting right into his Tempest tech, continuing those upgrades forward so quickly. Maru taking his 4th base very quickly as well and setting up that defensive zone.
Oh, is he going to try to attack in here? I was going to say, I think it would be unwise with all those liberation zones set up here.
Yeah.
And we did it. We're finally into a late game TVP.
Yeah.
So the question is, how does Classic fare in a long, drawn-out, and dramatic TVP? Because we know Maru almost never loses games like this.
He is the absolute best in a position like this. But this is, like, for instance, where Deer took the game off of him. Was a game that looked just like this. If I recall correctly, it was actually this map as well. But, ooh.
Ouch. Now there's another
So
kill
well
over
placed.
there on those SCVs.
Hold on, there might be another if this guy stays alive for another 2 hours.
Yeah.
I'm so glad they
Actually, yeah, it's really...
Almost. Almost.
So the 2 Tempests are almost out, 3, excuse me. And we have a Dark Shrine coming up here. And so Classic staying out on the map. Now, TVP is a funny matchup where you tend to both have roughly the same amount of expansions at any point in time. It's unique in that regard. Good force fields. One Colossus save, very good reaction there by Maru to save that.
Yeah.
But remember, the longer the game goes on, it's slightly harder for Terran to take more of the map than it is for Protoss. Protoss have a little bit more agility in that regard. And that might be what Classic's banking on, is actually sandbagging this game as long as possible and winning an economy play, as long as he has fair trades.
Well, this type of play is really hard to stop as the Terran player. You know, Maru's really the only one that's shown us he can fight like this in a very long, drawn-out game. But Tempest, I mean, they're quick, just going back and forth, tagging those air units and trying to pick them off, forcing your opponent to kind of commit forward. The one thing I do have to say, though, is there's no Colossus, so zoning the Ghosts out is going to be a little bit difficult here for Classic.
Looks like he's going to try to rely on Blink here. Those Stalkers eating some siege tank shots. We have a small counterattack here. I think a recall is in order.
Yeah, you might be right about that.
There's nothing here to save this, so this Nexus is going to go down as well as the Robo-Bang.
Doesn't have the energy there for the recall, so looks like he's going to get some decent damage done and a big drop into the main base here as well.
Oh, wow, if he can get these Stargates, that would be huge.
Well, this is what happens when you're too good at macroing. He doesn't have the energy, I guess, for those recalls. And this drop going to unpower quite a few buildings there.
Okay, looks like that Tempest barely getting out of there. And this is a great play. Just unpowering these for a little while is going to slow down the production of those Tempests.
Yeah, that's very annoying indeed. You know, slowing down the upgrades as well. Of course, we see Classic getting absolutely everything. Getting in that Colossus tech finally, getting Plasma Shields, getting Dark Templar Blink. And these are all going to be useful as the game goes forward. He's got to use every tool at his disposal. Now look at this, uses the Phoenix to get in the Prism. But no, not going to happen.
That was good use of just having one Phoenix to try to bait out those shots and get the Warp Prism in there. But there was just too many air units. It did too much damage. With this number of Vikings, is there any incentive for Protoss to shift gears out of air units?
Absolutely not.
Do you just want to keep that air arms race going as long as possible?
Look, the units that matter here are the High Templar, the Tempest, and, well, I feel like he should really, really, really add some Colossus in to zone out those Ghosts a little bit better. He's not doing that here, so the EMPs are going to be a little bit scary, right? If he EMPs a High Templar, it's hard to stop the Vikings from killing off all of your Tempests.
Okay, this is ambitious here by Classic, making these batteries and cannons just outside of this expansion. Now, remember, the Tempest it has range better than anything else air-wise, even though Vikings have insane range here. The goal here is to try to just chip away at the Terran, and as these Vikings come out here to defend, you want to chuck down Psystorms on them. If you get a good Psystorm off on them, you might be able to push in a little bit further here. And behind this, Protoss is expanding, out-expanding, I should say, the Terran. Yeah. A very different game than what we've had in the last 4 games.
You know, so much. Look at this. He's coming. He's trying to get those EMPs off. That Templar throws down the Storm. Doesn't get that much damage, I think, on the Vikings. Looks like a little counterattack coming up here as well. But it's like, I feel like Classic right now is relying upon his High Templars so much. If he were to lose those, If he didn't have storms for the Vikings, I feel like
my
we could
God.
see Maru just run forward.
I was about to praise Classic for having the right idea and having so many cannons there, but you do need more pylons there to help power that.
Yeah.
And it looks like the 12 o'clock expansion is going to go down, but meanwhile, this attack down here, there's no SCVs repairing this, and this CC is going to go down for free.
Yeah, very nice kill there, but in the meantime, he is harassing a little bit over here. Looks like the DT will clean up that small group of bile, but there is a ranged Liberator denying a bunch of mining over there at the 5th base of Classic.
But I'll tell you what, if Classic can clean up his side of the map pretty quickly here, I'm liking this game for him a lot.
Yeah.
He just needs to throw down some more cannons, get rid of that Liberator, and he's got this position over here, and now we've got a nuke being shot over here in this position. Is there something to spot?
No.
There's no observer, right?
No, he doesn't have an
I don't
observer
see
here.
anything.
Wow, that nuke is actually fantastic. Look at that. He's going to get rid of the shield battery. Most of it, at least. A lot of the cannons going down there as well. This is such an interesting play by Classic. You know, I've been talking a lot about possibly getting Colossi in here, but the speed with which he's gotten this army out, the amount of Tempest he's fielding, he's kind of just utilizing a smaller set of different units to push everything back, and it looks really scary.
In games like these, stamina is key. You got to be able to stay on top of your game. You got to be able to not get exhausted, because this should be going on for a very long time here. By the way, we have Maru reclaiming that bottom base, making another command center.
Do you see what I see? Yamato cannon on the way. 2 armories upgrading his ships.
Oh, wow.
We are not just seeing nukes against Protoss, but Base God Maru is going to make some BCs later, I think.
And it looks like he wants to try to blink in over here with these DTs. I don't see any turret. There's no turret, correct?
There's no turret there.
There's no scan here. Oh, he's going to be making turrets now. Okay, a good scan. And a good blink away, by the way. Oh, great engage there by Classic from the north.
Yeah, blankets everything there with Psystorms. The Siege doing an okay job pushing things back. More DTs and Zealots on the way right now, but BCs in production. Battle Cruisers going to be joining in.
So crazy. In yet another game in this finals, we're seeing some very new age stuff here in PvT. Seeing just how deep that late game rabbit hole can go.
Yeah. There was a point in time where we did have a few games where it was Mass Tempest against Mass BC, with the BCs tactical jumping all over the place, hitting the Yamatos off. A lot of recalls going down. I don't know what it's going to look like, though. There's been a lot of patches since then.
A pretty novel attack over there at the bottom base. Meanwhile, Classic attempted to try to breach the second base over there, but there is a wall, and it's his very tiny number of infantry that is actually doing an incredible amount of damage over here at Classic's additional bases.
You can see just how much pressure's going on. Like, all of Classic's supply is up at the front and in probes. 3 units are shutting down bases. 3.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. If Protoss ever does max out, then you can't capitalize on the fact that Protoss can warp in anywhere, because the game's not going to let you warp anything else in until you give up a few more units. I guess that Phoenix has been there that entire time, by the way.
Yeah, it's been there a while. I don't think he cares. That's a waste of 2 supply, truly.
Yeah, it's a waste of APM to try to move that guy around anymore.
Okay, double speed prism going across the map. BCs are out. There's 18 Vikings, 71. Oh my God. 71 SCVs out, 8 ghosts. Look at these armies. These armies don't even make sense. These aren't real armies.
He's going to come up here. These warp prisms are unintended. The ghosts come through. Oh, beautifully done.
Just smashing them down. And now it's time, Tempest. Let's see those BCs in action.
All right, we're going to get a fight that looks like the cover art on the back of the StarCraft 2 box.
Right?
Tempest fighting Vikings and battle cruisers here.
Oh my God, he's just got so many Tempests at this point. They actually are fighting the Vikings straight up.
I think he actually had to cancel that nuke over there. That ghost was in range of the cannon. That nuke is somewhere out in outer space now.
No, you got to be careful about that one. Hope it doesn't land in Game 6.
Now, of course, the battle cruisers able to maneuver around here and maybe hit locations other Terran air units couldn't. Note that he saw that with the warp prism. He's going to do a small warp in over there. Looks like that's going to be DTs and Zealots. Excuse me, just Zealots.
He's got DTs in the other one, Tasis.
All right. I got to never
You're
doubt
always
myself.
right. Don't doubt yourself.
Yeah.
Have more confidence.
Then the Tempest, it looks like, are now being angled over here at the bottom. It's a little bit harder for Terran to take the 3 o'clock position than it is to take the 7 o'clock spot.
This is so crazy. Look at this. He's getting a lot of damage done with his push, but the BCs are now hitting. And I mean, even if he recalls home to deal with this, you can just tactical jump out. Oh my God.
We're in a game of warping air units now. This is a very unusual situation for PvT, but yeah, there's going to be some kind of game where one player is going to have to abuse the warp cooldown of the other player for those air units, I think.
Yeah, that's what we've seen in the past, but look, there were so many units out on the field for Classic trying to break through Maru. Now Maru's counterattack is doing fantastically. Classic has to withdraw from all of his attacks right now. Maybe just a little tiny bit of harassment can go on. But even if he goes all the way up here, he knows that Maru can get away instantaneously. What a wild game.
Okay, battlecruisers are going to come in here. For now, it looks like Maru's going to be able to chew through these northern bases. And look at that great tactical jump escaping.
Oh, man.
Don't forget those SCVs can repair those battlecruisers, no problem. And that's exactly what we have now.
This is turning into such a wild game. Look at that, Maru catching even more right there. 3 prisms coming in. He really wants this damage.
Vikings in pursuit, DT's being dropped over here. And that's going to be the end of those war prisms. They're going to get cornered at the bottom right. Oh, that was ambitious.
Yeah. Well, doesn't really do all that much. He's still looking for that damage, though. The bank is getting pretty big for Maru. A lot of times when you see this type of matchup, it's going better for the Protoss and Terra, but not in this case. Oh my God, a tactical jump behind these Tempest, and Maru just crushing face.
Man, that was so sick.
Oh my God.
Oh, that might be just too much. I don't think the Classic has enough banked up to ever get that many units out in time. You can't warp in air units, folks. There's no way to get that much out that quickly. And I think from here, Maru's just a few steps away from possibly closing this out.
Yeah, that was just an amazing move. His battlecruisers can all be repaired as well at this point.
Now, that being said, he already used his tactical jump. Maru only has one base that's mining, and that's the bottom center.
Okay,
so he actually doesn't have a lot of resources. Classic is a bit scattered. There's a lot of Protoss clutter on the map, but he does have an income.
Yeah, I guess what you're saying is correct, but you know, the army I look at that Maru has here, he has 6 more BCs about to pop. 6 more. Like,
the only thing I think Classic can do is try to rely on avoiding the battle cruisers, and every time they get close to him, you run away. You force Maru to try to defend more locations. Maru has a very small number of locations to defend. Classic has enough locations on the map, he can give up 1 or 2. And the fact that he's forcing Maru to use these tactical jumps defensively is the only thing that Classic has that's keeping him inside this game.
You're definitely right about that. 29 SCVs fall there, but Maru's still with 44. He's made a lot this game. Oh my God. Bad gets worse.
Bad gets worse.
It does. And now the BCs march forward.
And unfortunately, there's no easy blink around this. They can only blink away just due to the fact they were in a valley. And this means these BCs can comb through the top of the map, taking these bases out. A small counterattack's going to come down here. Okay, nukes coming in this location. I don't think there's even anything you can do to contest that.
No, well, it's a single cannon. I don't think you care that much, but he is trying to get some extra damage in here. Blinks under some of these Liberators. Looks like he will be able to clear them, but a jump home is going to overall save his base.
And the fact of the matter is that Maru has so many battle cruisers he can divide and conquer here.
Yeah.
Some BCs can tactical jump back. Others can continue to press forward. The northernmost base is going to be taken out here for Classic, leaving him really only with the bottom left quadrant of the map as a place of access to any income.
Yeah, I think that this is just about the end. 3 more BCs on the way right now. Classic just really doesn't have anything
Well, now
left.
I've seen everything.
Yeah.
Groups of stormed Vikings walking on ground.
They lift up just in time for the Stalkers to blink underneath them. Doesn't matter, though.
Okay. Well, I think we are slowly going to see Classic get smothered here. He just doesn't have enough to really fight off this many battle cruisers. And this is among the most technical late-game PvTs I've ever seen.
Look at
and
that.
Here we go.
Oh, my
This
gosh.
is it. That should be the nail in the coffin here for Classic.
Look at that. Even Yamotoing those Stalkers. GG is called, and Maru takes the lead.
I am the swarm. Bonds will be shattered. Worlds will burn.